Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update. In early December, support for the Albanese government dropped 1.5% to 51% on a two-party preferred basis, but still ahead of the LNP coalition on 49%. The drop in support came after significant debate in Parliament about the mid-November release of over 140 detainees held in indefinite immigration detention. Already, 2 of the released detainees have been charged with committing new crimes. Roy Morgan government confidence increased 5 points to 78.5, recovering 12 points in the last 3 weeks. Now, most Australians, though, 53.5%, say the country is heading in the wrong direction, and only 32% say the country's heading in the right direction. In terms of primary voting intention, 37.5% say they'd vote for the coalition. That's up 2.5% on a week ago, and well ahead of the Labor Party on 32.5%. A further 12.5% support the Greens, 5% support One Nation, while 8.5% support independents and 4% support other parties. Consumer confidence, the ANZ Roy Morgan consumer confidence was virtually unchanged this week at 76.4. Inflation expectations increased slightly this week, up 0.2% to 5.6%. Australians are now expecting annual inflation to be 5.6% over the next 2 years. This high level of inflation expectations in Australia is no surprise when we look at one of the most visible markers, that's rising petrol prices. And average retail petrol prices in Australia have been above $1.90 per litre for a record of 17 weeks in a row, the first time this has ever happened. Next, to the conflict in Israel and Gaza. Roy Morgan, in conjunction with the Islamic Society of South Australia, recently conducted a special online survey with a representative cross-section of 1,005 Australians aged 18 plus on the current crisis in Israel and Gaza. The key findings from this research, conducted just prior to the short-lived ceasefire, included nearly half of Australians, 49%, say the Australian government should not take sides in the current crisis. 39% say the Australian government is favouring the Israelis. 10% say the Australian government is favouring the Palestinians. A large majority, 80%, say Hamas should return the Israeli hostages unconditionally. And a clear majority, 57%, say the Australian government should increase pressure on Israel to allow for immediate humanitarian assistance to enter Gaza. Now, when asked whether or not the Israeli army should withdraw their armed forces from Gaza immediately, 40% say yes, 33% say no, and 27% don't know. If that 27% of Australians saying they don't know to this question are excluded, a majority, 55% of those with an opinion, say the Israeli army should withdraw their armed forces from Gaza immediately. Now, this is up 4% from a special Roy Morgan SMS poll conducted in early November, only weeks earlier. We'll keep you up to date as we conduct further research. And for more information and detailed demographic breakdowns on these results, visit the Roy Morgan website. Now, finally, a look at business. We saw business confidence, which is measured monthly, take a hit in November after the Reserve Bank raised interest rates to a 12-year high of 4.35%. Business confidence dropped 4.6 points to 85.8 in November. Roy Morgan interviews around 1,500 businesses each month, and their confidence has now spent a record 10 straight months under the neutral level of 100. The driver of this decrease in business confidence in November was concerns about economic conditions in Australia in the short term over the next year, which increased substantially. In November, nearly 2 in 3 businesses, 64.3%, up 7.8% from October, said they expect bad times for the Australian economy over the next 12 months. We've just conducted a snap poll to identify Australians' most trusted and distrusted politicians. So keep an eye open, the results are imminent. And that's a wrap for this week. Thanks for listening today, and I look forward to bringing you the latest data on unemployment, consumer confidence, inflation expectations, and voting intentions next week. Subscribe to our Roy Morgan YouTube channel for all the latest political, economic, and market research data and insights.